Why is job loss grief different? In general, we're expected to bounce back, update our resume, be picture perfect, interview ready, and just move on without really addressing some of the other things that happen with or without a job. Our identities, for better or for worse, get tied up with our jobs. Our worth as well as our direction in life get tied up in our job. Our structure, so you wake up, you have a whole morning ritual and you have an evening ritual. There's also a social aspect to having a job, even if it's a remote role.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Corlin, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. Welcome to another episode of Lead Like a Girl. And I just want to say that we had really good feedback on our job loss grief episode where we got together with some ladies and kind of talk through grief and job loss and our experiences. And so we are here today with a part 2, except this time we have an expert with us, and not just an expert on this, but someone who has her own journey and is here to kind of give us not just a perspective from this is what I'm going through, but she's done something with her experience to give back. So we're going to talk about this from a different perspective today. And I think there's so many people, so many women who are experiencing this right now, right? So it's not something that people, I think, have a safe place to kind of, you think of grief, you think about death, right? It's not necessarily job loss is grief, but it is. And coming from someone who experienced it firsthand, it's not just losing a paycheck. It's not just losing what some of us feel like is our identity or our career rhythm, our community, our confidence. It's like, what are we doing and what comes next? So I'm just excited to talk about that here today. So this episode is for anyone who ever thought, why does this hurt so much? Like, why can't I just move on? It's just a job. Or maybe someone who thought, well, it's about rising up again. It's not about rushing into what's next, but it's understanding what's actually happening inside of me past I just lost my job, right? So today we're joined by Mara Rosenberg, who blends grief theory, leadership, and community care to help people navigate the in-between. And she built a powerful community for people experiencing job loss, transition, and identity shifts. So I'm just excited to have her here with us today. Before we dive in, if you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button to Lead Like a Girl Lab. If you are listening on Spotify, all the places, then make sure that you sign up to get your alert every week when we have a new episode. So thank you so much for our listeners and our feedback that we got on this last episode to continue this conversation. So I want to jump into just some quick icebreakers, ladies, and I will start with you, Mara. I'm curious to know, tell us a little bit, just a little tad bit about what was your first job ever?
Gosh, Well, my very first job ever was working for my family business. Father sold old books, used books, and through mail order. So a lot of my after school and weekends was finding the books, packaging the books, helping with sending out paper catalogs because it was that long ago.
Did your dad
And
invent eBay?
no, he wish he had though. Um, and then we did bring all of that stuff online, which is where my love of computers and technology came from. So,
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
Corlin, one word that describes your current season of life. And I hope you didn't read the notes because just springing this on you.
Just spit it out. I would say my word of the week, the month is full. Very full. I think in previous podcasts, I've thrown the word busy out the window because everyone's busy, but I'll replace it with the word full. I've got lots of life happening in work, out of work, sleeping, all the things.
Okay.
Lots of stuff happening.
I'm glad you wanted to detail because when I say full, it's because I ate too much. So thank you so much for breaking.
I actually haven't had dinner yet, so I'm the opposite of full in that regard. But
As
if you
long
can
as
hear
you're
my
not-
tummy rumbling, I apologize.
That's okay. As long as you're not hangry, then we're okay.
That's a possibility also. That's
right.
always a possibility.
Jamie, what is one small thing that's grounding you right now in this season?
I know it's cold out and it's snowy and it hurts my face to go outside because it's so cold. But there have been so many times in the last like few weeks when we just bundled up and like got fresh air, and it's remarkable. Like the difference in my day from just going outside and getting like some fresh air in my lungs. That's what's grounding me for sure. And just embracing that even though it's cold and it's winter, that doesn't stop us from being able to go get some nature in. So that's where I'm at right now with grounding.
The high in our land was 0. So that was at around noon. So it was just worse on either side of that. But it's interesting when I go outside that I put my coat on and you do the first probably 3 to 5 minutes outside. I remember thinking like, this actually isn't that bad. You know, so to your point, Jamie, I feel like a lot of us, the half the country right now is experiencing a lot of weather right now. And I feel like the tendency is like, oh, I got to hunker down. I got to be inside. But even if you just get outside for just a little bit before that, the cold, like gets your inner body, like just take that couple minutes and just go outside until you actually are cold. Like it can do a lot for
you. No, thank you.
Me.
I've been in.
Not Jessica. She hibernates with a blanket and footsies, and she actually has zip up pajamas on.
Absolutely. And I've seriously been in the house. If they didn't call off school, I was calling off school for Hayden because I was not going to take him. So there's that part.
Well, there's also, I feel like, not to get in a big weather conversation, but there is a difference between snow and cold and ice, like an ice storm. Like, well, I don't think going on the ice is advisable, but snow and cold, and it's all right.
Yeah. Spoken like a true person from the Midwest there, Corlin. Yes. So, Mara, before we start talking about frameworks and theory, we want to understand you and the community that you created. Like, who is this community? Like, who's it for? What problem are we solving? That tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Oh gosh. In 2023, I've founded a nonprofit called Liminal Living. And the idea is that it's for people who are in between, right? And in 2025, I lost my job. So a lot of the work of the nonprofit has recently been focused on the in-between of jobs. But really, this work and what I'm talking about can apply to you whether you are looking for a job or you're transitioning from one space in your life to another. A lot of people I know have been moving, or you're going from high school to college or college to the real world, because the same kind of change happens in our bodies and in our minds with these changes of our life. So when you asked about like what season are you in, like we all have our seasonalities, and there's also those moments in between those seasons. We will be seeing that soon enough, and we're in January right now, but things do start to shift in towards the end of February. The world looks and feels very different because of the actual seasons of our lives. So that's where liminal living came from. And then when I started exploring what I needed to do as a job seeker, I realized that I had a lot to say and a lot to share that I wasn't really seeing online. And so that's where this work came from, and that's how I met Jessica.
Yes, yes. And listen, I'll tell you, and as I shared my story of kind of going through my own grief and just looking on LinkedIn, and I don't even remember what it was, but there was something that she had posted and it really spoke to me. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute, there's like this circle, there's this support group. And I reached out to her, and I thought it was great to just kind of understand other people, just like, and I've never been to any. I probably needed a lot of support groups, but I never actually signed up for one. So I personally benefited from that as well. So, Mara, tell me, when it comes specifically to job loss, help us understand how it's difficult for people to really understand that that's grief, but why it is grief and how it's different to navigate job loss grief versus other type of griefs.
So I'll start with why is job loss grief different? And I think the biggest reason that it's different is that it is not always recognized as grief. There are a few people who do talk about that. Phil Terry in Never Search Alone does spend a little bit of time in their book talking about that. But in general, we're expected to bounce back, update our resume, be picture perfect, interview ready, and just move on without really addressing some of the other things that happen with or without a job. Our identities, for better or for worse, get tied up with our jobs. Our worth as well as our direction in life get tied up in our job. Our structure. So you wake up, you have a whole morning ritual and you have an evening ritual. There's also a social aspect to having a job, even if it's a remote role. There's still people that you're interacting with that are gone. And so this is not just one loss, but it's multiple losses, right? It's so much more than the economic security and the security of benefits. It is also about all of these other pieces of ourselves, and that needs a space. And I needed to create that space for myself in order to be able to move on and move through the job search.
It's interesting that you say identity because it got me thinking about uh, like one of the first questions you ask people, well, that we ask each other when you first meet someone is, what do you do for a living?
Mhm.
And it's, I mean, we all, so I don't know if you know this, Mara, but the three of us had, basically we had the same job for the same company in different areas of the country. And one of the first things that we would, one of the main ways that we would get to know some of our future clients was to find out what they did for a living, because that kind of helped us determine how to approach them, how to be effective in our sales process. But it is your identity, right? I mean,
Mhm.
even if you're in a position that isn't necessarily your dream job, or maybe it's a position that wasn't what you set out to do, but there's so much of that.
Right. And whether that's a title, Jamie, I'm a director of such and such, I'm a sales, this and that. It's also the identity of being a competent human, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
we tie what we do for money to who we are internally, and unblending those is challenging, and there's not a lot of good supports for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what I've noticed too is that watching very capable people kind of unravel very quietly, because I think that as in a circle of people who are strong, competent, professional women, we're not going to scream from the rooftops that we had this loss, we got let go in a lot of scenarios. It's like, I'm going to figure this out. And before I make it public, I'm going to have a solution. And sometimes those solutions don't come as fast as you want to. And then you have to decide in the moment how you're going to pivot. And I think that, I haven't personally had a dramatic job loss personally, but I have watched several people that I care about go through this process. And I think that kind of what showed up for me too is, or what I showed up for them, is that this whole, like maybe a little bit of embarrassment, maybe a little bit of shame shows up. Like, why did this happen to me? Like that kind of thing. Is that something that you have experienced, that not you personally, but that you see with people that you work with, and how do they, how do you shut that voice off?
There's definitely what I call the productivity trap. And so when the shame of losing the job creeps in, or the depression that shows up because we're in an environment that is really hard to navigate, that can really shut people down. And then we also have the isolation that happens with that, not just that you've lost your 9 to 5 friend group, and some of those people, remain friends and some of them don't. But it's hard because there's also this very human thing that will happen where we get defensive. Like, wait, why did I lose my job and somebody else didn't? And so by recognizing that these conversations are happening in my head, they all happened in my head, and some of them, I've heard happening in other people's minds. That's the first step, is to really be graceful with myself, right? Okay, I am having a moment where I am expressing some shame, or I am, having negative self-talk with myself. And so one of the things that has really helped me is to be in community. And that's why I started these job loss processing circles. And they've been really powerful spaces that are confidential to allow people to share what's going on for them. Some people are down to, their last digits in their bank account, right? Other people, it's not about money, but about the dream that they had about retiring from that particular company that they'd been with for over 10 years, right? So everybody's journey is a little bit different in this space, but being able to shine some light and give it some air has really helped me personally, but pretty much everyone that I've talked to.
Yeah,
How do
I
you
love that.
determine these circles? Like, how do you, I think, Jessica, did you say on LinkedIn you found Mara? Is that how you guys found each other?
Yeah.
Is that typically how you're connecting with folks that are going through the same similar situations?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've recently partnered with an organization called Let's Reimagine, and all that they do is events on grief. So though I am one of the few people on their platform that talks about job loss grief, or non-death loss. And so I'm really excited to see how that partnership develops. But for me, it's about being public about what I'm going through, what I know others are going through, and trying to help, right? Saying, here's what's working for me, right? And I'm not talking about my latest instructions for my large language model. I'm not talking about what my LinkedIn word optimization strategy is. I'm talking about, like, when I wake up in the morning, those breathing exercises, those centering spaces, those moments where I allow myself to be ragged, right? And sharing that authentically and professionally on LinkedIn mostly is how I've been reaching people.
Yeah. Speaking of LinkedIn, a couple of days ago, you posted something and I took a picture of it because I wanted to ask you about it. It said, did you know that your brain has a daily decision budget? Once it's gone, it shuts down. Everything we do burns through that budget. Job applications, even if help from AI, new shifting responsibilities, unbudgeted and rising costs, by the end of the day, we're exhausted.
Yeah.
Like I hung out with a kid last week who really loves snails. I didn't know that a snail, and so you know the post I'm talking about. I won't read the whole
Yeah.
thing, but it really like, oh my gosh, short pauses, let them navigate obstacles. So tell us a little bit about
Mhm.
where the point of this was, because I'm not reading the whole thing, but it was like a big aha moment for me.
Yeah, so one of the things that happens in job loss is that it triggers the same response as any other kind of grief, and stress floods your system. Cortisol comes in, and our brain doesn't know what to do, and so it deprioritizes a lot of other things while it's figuring out this new world order. And so when we're in these kinds of moments, the ability for us to make decisions goes down because we're already making a lot of decisions in our brain that we don't see, that we can see through fMRI machines, medical studies, and I'm not a doctor, but I thought this was really fascinating. Okay, I have a decision budget, and this is why at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. Every one of those resumes that I'm tuning, right? There are many, many decisions that are happening with that, whether I'm using AI as a conversational partner to do that or not, whether I'm even deciding to apply to this job in the first place, that's a decision. Whether I'm going to use a stock resume or refine it, that's another decision. Whether I'm going to reach out to someone I knew 5 years ago who's connected to this job, but we haven't talked since, another decision, right? And all of these are like not simple yes or no uh, decisions. There's a whole world of gray, and that is also really challenging to navigate. So as I was, thinking about all of this, and then, hung out with a friend's kid, I was like, oh, rest. Rest is necessary. We're also, we're in a moment generally where lots of animals are hibernating, right? And so I just tried to think about, well, what is something that I can say on that is meaningful and interesting to the LinkedIn community. So much of what you will read there are things that I wish that I had heard. Because the minute that I lost my job, I started going resume, 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 resume. And then the next tranche of time, say 2 weeks later, I would sit at my computer and I couldn't even read the words on the page. And I was like, huh, what is going on for me? Well, I guess I'm supposed to go outside. And thankfully it was July, not 0 degrees out, Jamie, like what's going on for you right now. But having that space and that break away from what I thought I needed to do to really listen to what I needed was incredibly powerful for me.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that the interesting thing for me as you're talking, the job loss solutions don't happen in a vacuum. Like it's not just
Hmm.
independent. Like you're talking about all these decisions that you're making that are job loss specific, but then you compound that onto just the normal walk of life. You've got to make that equal amount of decisions for your children and your husband
Yeah.
and your health and whether or not you're going to go to bed on time. And so all those things compound. And I feel like if we're speaking to women who get home after they put in a whole day, and I feel like sometimes, like Jessica, I feel like when you were going through this a lot, that you were always busy doing things. And some of the things that I heard you say was you've done all these things and there's fruit being produced, but you can't see it. So this whole going through all the motions, making all these decisions for almost, it seems like unproductive, but it's exhausting and it'll all play out. But it's just, you come home and maybe your spouse asks you, what do you want for dinner? And you're like, I cannot make
Yeah.
one more decision today. And then it starts a little rift because your spouse is like, I just asked what's for dinner and they have no idea what's happening, which is,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a real emotion that you
Yeah.
feel that it's completely unseen but it's real.
Well,
Yeah.
and let me just say this too. I don't want you to lose your thought, Mara, but especially when you don't have a job, because sometimes there could be some people thinking, well, what are we having for dinner? You're not working right now. What did
Yeah.
you do all day? Now go ahead, Mara.
Oh gosh, yeah. Woo, yeah, there's definitely like a whole nother side conversation about all of the people who came in and was like, would you like to volunteer for this, that, and the other thing? Oh,
Jessica.
Jessica.
you can take on this, that, and the other thing because now you're not at this job. And so all of these other responsibilities, yeah, showing up, and I haven't really even metabolized what I want next. I hadn't even gotten to a place where I could even say that sentence. It's like, so, and then when somebody asks me what I want for dinner, I'm like, food. I want, like, that's okay.
No, the question is not what do you want for dinner? The question is what are we having for dinner? Yeah. Like as in you the person that are cooking, you're the person that's figuring it out, you're the person and again, if your spouse is working and they're looking at you like and this is where I think really what really I was introduced to in your community, Mara, is that it really helped me. And this is someone who has a master's in psychology that I didn't even stop and think like there were some days that I'm like, I'm losing my damn mind. Like I know I'm a little special type of crazy anyway, but this is a whole different level. And it makes so much sense when you break it down and you're talking about like what's even happening with our nervous system. I know you talked about that a little bit in the circle that we went to. It kind of talk a little bit about that piece because when you feel like you're going crazy, I think it's because you don't even realize what's even happening physically coming from the mental space that you're in.
Yeah, let's see, where can I go with that? It's some of the things that I've learned as I've been just really curious. Why was this so hard? I have been a job seeker before. I have looked for work. I have hired people. I have fired people. I have been fired. I've been laid off. Like, why was this one so hard? It's like, well, because I honestly didn't see it coming. And so I had to navigate my own feelings of guilt and shame around that. And my um what's a good way to say this? I needed to be kinder to myself, right? I was spending a lot of time with the negative self-talk. And so out of that softening of language for myself, I realized, okay, there are some other pieces of the puzzle that I can talk about here. One of them is capacity, right? We have a lot of different kinds of capacity. When we were talking about our like decision budget, there are decisions that we're making that are, about, how many steps are we going to get in today? Like, what's our physical how much physical energy do we have? How much emotional energy do we have? And then social is a whole nother one. And then layer on that a cognitive one where we're learning all sorts of new things, navigating whether it's LinkedIn or all these other new job boards that are out there. That's still a load of decisions that need to get made. So with every one of those, across those categories, and then in those, you could probably build many, many more. But I was like, I have a lot more physical energy than I do emotional energy today. I'm really going to go for that. Or today it's cold out, it's raining. I really don't have it in me to do that outdoor workout. So I'm going to turn inward and see what other energies I have. Can I pick up a new skill? Can I do micro learning? What is it that I can? So by being able to be kind to myself and recognize that there are many different ways to make progress, and that progress doesn't always look like it does in the corporate environment, really helped me.
Yeah. No, I like that because, Corlin made a point that I think was real, and that is you're not really seeing the fruit of what you're doing. And I think what you just said is really perfect. And I want to just say it loud for the people in the back. And that is to really understand that success doesn't always look like the way that it looks in the corporate environment. You don't have that sales goal that, you can really celebrate because you're at 140% of goal. Like you have to know what those wins look like in this space. So I really hope that we have a lot of listeners that are in this community and that they've taken some of the things that we have talked about, um, understanding that there is a healing process. And that's kind of the last thing I want to hit on before we wrap up here. And that is really understanding what healing, well, first of all, I understanding that there's something to heal from, because that was, I didn't really get that. Like you said, I thought, is it because I'm older now that, this job loss is like, I'm really taking it a little different. But I think it's just understanding that it is grief, there is loss, you have to be kind to yourself. There is a healing process. So what do you think that looks like, that people can really understand that the importance of the healing process, even if you get a job offer tomorrow? What do people need to understand about the healing process?
Mm. Well, I'll start with these things take as long as they take. And I've talked to people who lost jobs 10 years ago and still have really strong emotional feelings about that experience, right? And that's okay. We are all where we are, and wherever you are is okay, because the job loss is not a personal failure. It's an organizational decision, part of the cycles of economics and of this world, and it's a structural reality that we live in. And your grief doesn't
I
need
love
to
the
be
way you put that,
fixed.
by the way.
Yeah,
If you guys listen to what she just said, it helps you not take it so personal, because it seems
It's the
very
structural reality. That's what I heard.
yeah. It's a
Yeah, and there's a lot of like unplugging from that. Like
yeah.
it's just because I think like Jamie said, like we have so much identity in what we do for a career
Yes.
that when it gets taken away, especially when it was you feel like you were kind of blindsided,
Yes.
that you still want to be plugged in, like you're walking. It's like I get up from my desk and I forget that I'm like connected to the wall, and I literally am like, you know what I'm saying? It's like
yeah,
there's some
yeah,
analogy in there, but it's like I get whiplash back to my desk because I'm still connected.
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah.
yeah. And you can't rebuild what you haven't honored, right? So it was really important for me to recognize all of the things that I had done at my last job and the job before that and the job before that, and really think about, how do I want to bring those things together?
Mhm.
Because doing a bypassing of whatever feelings they are to create productivity, that generally means that the recovery takes longer. The
Mhm.
work that we need to do as job seekers is to process. It is also to look for another job, but I think that you can do both um, at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, and the in between, this liminal space. The reason we called our company Liminal Living is because that's where there's clarity. That's where there's opportunity. Because of uncertainty, there is a malleability to this moment that before this, I was not being so public about what I thought about week to week on LinkedIn. And now I've met all sorts of amazing people online from being real. And so that clarity, though, wasn't there before I had this disruption. I
Wow.
was like, oh, what
Yeah.
will people think of me? Oh no.
Right.
And so I think that this acknowledgement of who we are as humans will make all of us stronger leaders over time.
Absolutely. I know that it has definitely been impactful for me. I've learned a lot about myself, and, would I choose to do it again? No, but I'm thankful for the journey. I think there's
Yes.
a lot that happened during that time. So, what do we want listeners to really just take away today? If you are listening and you are in the middle of this, I think that one of the things that I heard today that would really, really hit home for me is that job loss is not a personal failure.
Mhm.
I'm very ambitious. Like, I don't like to lose. I like to set goals. I like to be the best. And I had to tell myself that every day. Job loss is not a personal failure. Jamie, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree completely. It's just, especially the stories that we've heard, really, just with this podcast and the different people that we've talked to about this subject. It's so much more. It happens to everybody. It happens to everybody, right? And I also think, I was thinking about when Corlin, months ago, you had told that story about when I quit working for the company and we went out to dinner. And I had to tell you I was moving.
And I was sobbing.
Yeah, but you thought we were going to celebrate, but really we cried. Um, I was just thinking, job loss. Yes, sometimes you're let go, but then there's also the flip side when you're deciding to leave as well.
Sure.
And in this subject really got me thinking about both sides of the coin. It's your identity, it's your community. If you decide you're going to make a change and move forward in a different direction, whether that's your choice or someone else made that choice for you, it still impacts you, right? You can still feel grief. I'm curious too, just really quick, one more quick question for you, Mara. So once you get back into the job market, what will be the next stage for you for this circle? Like, will you continue on? I'm assuming you would, but would you continue on this path?
This work is so important, Jamie. I'm committed to it. I'm not sure what form it's going to take, but I know that what I've learned from this and how I've grown is something I can't walk away from.
Yeah, I'm sure. Corlin, what do you got?
Through this whole conversation, the thing that keeps resonating with me is that everybody, like we've all said, is exceptionally human, and this is not like nobody's immune from this. And so feeling shame or guilt around this is it's okay, but it's also like you're not doing this alone. Like there's a lot of people in the same space, whether you might not feel it, but there is. But I also feel that whole conversation we had about making all these decisions, I think that the more that we can set our expectations for everybody that's in our circle, probably a better outcome. I feel like the things like explaining to your spouse and the people that you're doing, I have to do these things. And my expectation is that I'm not going to be done. I'm technically working, even though you can't see the work that I'm doing. I am working. And my expectation is that you will figure out dinner for us. And I think sometimes where that friction and that extra tension goes is like, I'm assuming you can see that I'm processing this. So that level of communication, a level of setting expectation when it's hard for everybody. And I feel our spouses feel stress in a different way. And if anybody's spouse is like mine, is that sometimes he's a uber communicator and sometimes he's not. And I sometimes have to figure that out by myself, so just having clear expectations and having that idea that it can be exhausting, but there is going to be a silver lining. There's hope, and your journey might seem long. There's a win at the end.
Absolutely. Well, Mara, I just want to thank you for giving language, space, and community to something that so many people, I think, carry quietly is the best way that I can think of it, is because I think it's just, like you said, some people don't want to, maybe they're ashamed or they just don't understand that it's grief. And so
Right.
I just thank you for the work that you're doing. I'd like you to tell our listeners what is one thing that you hope that they heard today and where they can find you, how they can join or support your community, and who you hope this message gets out to today.
All of you, thank you so much for having me. This has honestly been a great conversation for me to have and to synthesize a lot of the things that I talk about, but in a workshop, it's different than a conversation. So I really appreciate the time today. You can find me at that's MARAH info, and you'll find all sorts of ways to get in touch with me. I really hope that people who haven't figured it out yet, who aren't feeling like they're up for networking, those who don't know what they need or want yet, find me next. That they also know that just because you've lost your job, you haven't lost your worth.
Yes, that's drop the mic moment right there. I love that. I love that because that's how you feel. That's how you feel. I love that. This is a great conversation. I will say that even though you all maybe couldn't tell, but we are honored that this is Mara's first podcast talking about this and getting the word out. So I hope that you will share, and help us. Remember, subscribe on YouTube to Lead Like a Girl Lab and connect with us wherever you listen to your podcast and just help us share. We're here to empower everyday women through storytelling, and we hope that you enjoyed the conversation today. So.